Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm covering with you guys my top 10 favorite reprints of the Mythic Booster reprint set. Main reasons I'm doing this is because I do think that it's really cool that Bandai is coming out with the Mythic Booster, and I think it's also cool they're reprinting SCRs amongst other really hard to get, sought after cards. But the other reasons, because I'm thinking about doing a video where I talk about the reprints that are kind of just like pointless and needless, and I kind of wanted to like soften the blow by definitely giving Bandai credit where it's due and just talking about the reprints that I think are very, very good for the players and for the game. So if you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video, and if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many ways to do so down in the description. But today, if you're looking for custom sleeves, playmats, deck boxes, any TCG accessories like that, be sure to use the link in the description to yourplaymat.com. That link will get you 10% off your order. And their custom art sleeves, guys, are such high quality. I love my Crossworld custom art sleeves. They're super good. Don't have to double sleeve them. They don't peel like typical art sleeves. Definitely worth the pickup. Again, 10% off with the link in the description. Anyways, let's get started. Alright, so obviously one of the best reprints is Xeno Unspeakable Abomination. Even though this card is seeing an errata, which is nice that the new art of the card is going to have the errata on it. Now, the kind of unfortunate thing is that apparently Mythic Booster's been delayed in the US at least until January, when it was supposed to come out in December. So we'll have to wait a little bit for this card. But even though Xeno was errata to no longer have base quadruple strike and only being able to get that with part of the auto, it's still a really, really good SCR to have, especially considering the current format, which is a lot slower paced. So a lot of yellow and green yellow decks can play this card. Green Gotenks can play it, Yellow Sin can play it, even some builds of Icarus can play it. So it's a good card to have access to if you're a newer player in the game, weren't able to get Xeno back in the day, because a lot of SCRs like this have really, really hiked in price over the past couple years. But the thing that I don't know, and I don't think anyone quite knows yet, that because no one has a Mythic Booster in their hand, is what the pull rates of these SCRs are going to be like. Are they sticking with the standard 2 SCRs per case, or are they going to go back to an older method like a World Tournament Booster where it's 4 SCRs per case? Even though this set does have 2 reprint SCRs, the SS4 Vegeta, in my opinion, not such a great essential reprint, because just never been a really great competitively playable SCR. But I guess that doesn't totally matter for a set like this. They want to also, you know, print some cards with collector value, some cards that players really, really like. So it doesn't totally have to be like a super home run competitive card, right? But again, depending what they decide to do with SCR pull rates in Mythic Booster, that's going to mean a lot as far as, you know, how affordable or unaffordable the Xeno reprint is for new players. So I don't know how I feel about this, to be honest. I kind of hope that they still keep it like one of each SCR per case at the very most, because we still want cards like SCRs to retain a good amount of collector value. So if they really do something like, you know, you get 2 Xenos and 2 SS4 Vegetas in a case, let's just say, that would definitely tank down the price of the reprint SCR, and the price of the regular SCR is already dropped significantly because of the errata. So I'm not really too worried about that going down even more, but it could hurt the long-term price of the OG Xeno. And I really, really appreciate when companies are able to do this with reprints, where they're able to reprint a card in such a way that it makes it much more accessible for the player base than it once was. But the original printing of a card, which amongst collectors is usually valued very, very highly, is still able to maintain some value. So kind of just my thoughts on like reprinting SCRs, which has always been a kind of hot topic in the Dragon Ball Super community. Then we have SS4 Bardock fighting against Fate. So this is an overall that came out of a tournament pack that's been very, very hard to get. For a few formats, it's been the de facto overwhelm of the format. Not so much this format. Like, the card is still very playable, especially in your like mid-rangey aggro decks, but Secret Identity Masked Saiyan seems to be taking over as the overwhelm of choice. But still, fighting against Fate, having a much more affordable printing, is a very, very good thing for the game for sure. I absolutely also love this artwork. I gotta just say though, man, like, who really thought that it's such a simple overwhelm? Just regular overwhelm 6 dual attack, no other text on the card whatsoever. Who would have thought this would have been such a strong overwhelm for so many formats now? And it's going to be so easy for this thing to come back into rotation as the main overwhelm of the format. So it's going to be such a good thing for this to get reprinted. You're absolutely going to want to get your hands on it. Next up, we have a pair of cards here because they pretty much go in the same deck. SS3 Gogeta, Thwarting the Dark Empire, and SS4 Goku, Beyond All Limits. So these are great reprints for the Gogeta Xeno deck, which after these come out, that deck is going to be so much more affordable. I'm not 100% sure what the price of the Kai TP is at the moment. That one might be a little bit higher nowadays, but still, like, just these cards getting reprinted is going to reduce the price of the deck so drastically that so many more players are going to be able to play the deck for affordability reasons. Now, you can have a different opinion on whether that's a good or a bad thing, but still, I mean, I love the artwork on the SS4 Son Goku Beyond All Limits. The winter art obviously is probably the best one, not only because of that winter stamp, but I think the artwork just looks really, really cool on that. The S3 Gogeta Thwarting the Dark Empire art is not bad, but I actually really, really like, for this card specifically, the original tournament pack promo art, the regular non-foil art. But in Mythic Booster, not only do you have a chance to get these super rare rarities of the card, but I believe the original art of each card is also being printed with an alt art foil. So me personally, I want to get the original S3 Gogeta thwarting arts, but reverse foil instead of just the typical tournament pack art that is non-foil. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to this because I've actually never even owned a pair or a set of S3 Gogeta Thwarting the Dark Empire yet. So I'll be getting my first set of this card when Mythic Booster comes out. So I'm pretty excited about that myself. Then we have S2 Trunks Heroic Prospect. So I've got to say, this card probably didn't need, I think this is its 4th or 5th reprint. Probably not necessary, because after, you know, the event pack and all that stuff, this card did drop in price significantly. But I gotta say, I do really, really like this artwork. And again, it's always a good thing when, you know, promos are more accessible, especially after they've been out for a long time. I believe Trunks came out in set 10, so 5-6 sets later, having this thing be much more accessible, even if it is just like common right now, everyone has it. That's just a good thing in my opinion. And again, I really, really like this artwork. The best one for me is probably the winter art from the original tournament pack, but this one is probably the next best one. Not a huge fan of the Battle Evolution release, but this one I think is really, really nice. Then we have Son Goku Nimbus Master. Okay, so now we're getting into some draft box cards. Draft box cards, for those of you guys that are new, very, very pretentious in the community because draft boxes were not handled in the best way. I'll just leave it at that. And, you know, a lot of really good cards out of draft boxes were really, really expensive for a long time. Son Goku Nimbus Master was never really one of those cards, although before recording I did check. It's sitting at about $7 a copy. But $7 a copy for a card that's really not played in the current meta is definitely pretty high. So you can imagine if this card was to become more meta relevant, how much it would hike in price. So having a reprint that's easily accessible for a card like this from a draft box, definitely a super solid thing. This artwork is cool. I think it's honestly a little bit too similar to the current artwork, just Goku's making a bit more of a stern face than in the original artwork where he's a little bit happier. But yeah, still really, really nice to have this type of reprint again for a draft box card that could easily bump up to like 20-25 bucks a copy if the card ever became meta relevant. Then we have Koitsukai Mechanical Courage. Again, another draft box card, and that one's always been really high in price because Koitsukai is pretty much always good. Like, the only time he's not good is in like a pure aggro format where players are not really playing cards during the opponent's turn. But in this slower, mid-rangey style format, that's definitely the case where lots of cards are being played on both players' turns. So Koitsukai just shuts off all of your different floodgates like Mecha Freezer, Bardock, or Post, like Topo Righteous Aid, like Boo, Unadulterated Malice. You also have your different arrival cards that this thing can interact with. So really good reprint, makes it more accessible. A lot of players have their different thoughts on whether or not Koitsukai is a healthy card for the format. I don't know. You can't necessarily interact with Koitsukai, which is kind of annoying, I will say, but at the same time, sometimes it's so difficult to interact with all the different floodgate decks. Like, Blue Baby is not a super meta relevant deck anymore, but just decks like that are constantly just floodgating you during your turn, making it impossible for you to attack. I think Koitsukai is a fine card against those types of decks. Maybe it's a bit annoying against mid-rangey decks that are maybe a little bit more fair in terms of defense. So I can definitely see the arguments for both sides, but still, players are going to have more easy access to Koitsukai. So if you're playing a deck that is affected by Koitsukai, keep in mind that more players will probably have it accessible in their sideboard once Mythic Booster finally releases. Then we have Goku Kaioken Concentrated Destruction. Very, very difficult card to get. So this card came out in a draft box again, so very, very high price there. But besides that, the only reprint of this card was actually in the collector edition, which is another really hard set to get your hands on. So even though this card already had a reprint, it was not easily accessible in any form of the word. So the fact that this thing is now going to have a very easy accessible reprint is very, very nice, especially for red players who generally need to side at least like 2 copies of this card most of the time, especially now that Lord Slug Super Namekian is going to be even more popular in the meta. It seems like this is a great reprint. Then we have Android 18 Perfection's Prey. So this is an older promo that for whatever reason this set of promos seem to be like less distributed than others. So whenever this card was decent, like there was a time where this card was played as like a 3 of in Cell Surge back in like the early days of Cell Surge. This card was like anywhere from $30 to $40 a copy. So having a reprint here, like now it's only like $8, which again still for an unplayable promo is definitely a pretty high price. So this card having a reprint where it's going to be easily accessible in case it ever becomes good again is really nice. And this card can be easily very good. Like 5 of those cards, man, it's a free blue green-yellow combo. So that's definitely not a bad thing at all. And then finally we have Broly's Swift Executioner. Again, another promo. I believe it came in the same set as Perfection's Prey. I just think there's really high potential in red-green. So I think it's really cool that Broly's Swift Executioner is getting a reprint. I think the artwork looks pretty dope. This is pretty cool. We don't see many cards of like base form Broly kind of look like a badass, and this one does look pretty sick. The card is really good. Again, I do think there's potential in red green. I think we'll be getting more multicolor support in the next set. I believe they've hinted at that. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out for that, but I do think this is a really great reprint. But anyways, guys, I want to know you guys in the comments below, what are your top reprints for Mythic Booster? Obviously these are just my opinions. I probably didn't hit all the cards you're thinking of, so let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.